It's no secret that the Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland really isn't in the best of conditions. Saying that the ride is poorly maintained would be a vast understatement. From spinning bugs to stage fright boulders, the ride has seen a major drop in quality over the last 10 years. In fact, it's gotten so bad that even the general public has started to notice the differences. With the ride going down for a near 3 to 5 month refurbishment starting on January 9th, let's break down exactly how many things have broken over the years and see the amount of work Disney will need to do in order to bring Indiana Jones' Adventure Temple of the Forbidden Eye back to its former glory. The queue is one of the most important parts of any theme park experience. It establishes a strong foundation, creating a place where environmental storytelling and immersion can stretch their legs fully. The Indiana Jones Adventure queue is no stranger to this, incorporating many effects and techniques we still see in the theme park industry today. Even though the queue for Indiana Jones is in much better condition compared to the ride portion, for this reason alone, I feel that it is of great importance to shine a light on the missing elements in the queue and not only just the ride. The best place to start is in the outdoor section of the ride. This is where a quickly thrown together gas generator is powering the lights of the entire temple, constantly running with its speed fluctuating at every revolution. As guests step closer, the sounds of the struggling machine become apparent, combined with its visually dilapidated nature, filling guests with a feeling of uneasiness, as if their adventure into the temple might suddenly end up in total darkness. This is what storytelling in a queue is capable of doing, creating a sense of danger and uneasiness with the help of some props and sounds. However, the current Disney management most likely doesn't agree with this proposition. Although the flickering lights and sounds still remain, the generator's speed has been reduced drastically, making it feel more like a cool prop rather than a critical machine. In a similar fashion, the theater room has also seen a decrease in quality. In between the safety videos Sala gives, there used to be 2 different newsreels that played. The first reel gave guests more of an insight into the lore of the temple, explaining the different types of chambers and gifts they could receive once inside. The second reel sets up a more somber tone, covering the stories of the numerous tourists around the globe who visited the temple only to mysteriously never be seen ever again. These 2 reels were very important to the core of the story of the ride. They help strengthen the lore, giving guests more context and information about what they were about to experience while also building up the suspense before the ride portion of the attraction. All of this was done without hurting the immersive and storytelling elements of the ride. Unfortunately, as many of you may know, these 2 newsreels were cut out in favor of playing the safety video more often. Moving on to the ride segment of Indiana Jones Adventure, things get substantially worse. For starters, the intensity of the ride has been toned down drastically. From opening day to around 2010, Indiana Jones Adventure was an extremely rough ride. Imagineers who programmed the ride pushed the vehicles to the limits, making for an unforgettable experience. This clip from Sala's safety briefing shows just how intense the ride was back in the day. Starting from the beginning of the ride, as guests are getting their seatbelts checked in the loading area, one broken and long forgotten effect is the wall of mirrors. The wall of mirrors was an effect that showed guests sitting in the loading area what chamber the vehicle ahead of them went through. This was done as a way to show guests the illusion of multiple chambers and that each vehicle would go through a different door each time. Unfortunately, after 2014, the wall of mirrors along with the changing door effect was disabled in favor of projection mapping. Personally, I am a fan of projection mapping. I really do think it can bring a lot of new life into a new or even existing attraction. However, the way how Disney Imagineering worked it into Indiana Jones really did not work with the ride. That is a whole different topic on its own, so if you do want to hear me talk about it, please let me know in the comment section down below. As guests anger Mara by looking into the deity's eyes, the vehicle is suddenly jolted into the air and launched toward the gates of doom. Before the guests aboard succumb to their fate, they come face to face with Indiana Jones, holding the gates closed. There's multiple effects here that have been broken or deactivated in this scene alone, the most notable one being the door slamming effect. This was where Indiana Jones used to slam the doors to the gates of doom shut, causing the vehicle to suddenly drop out of the air and smash into the ground. This was done by turning off the lights behind the door, giving off the illusion that Indiana Jones was the one closing the door. That effect was replaced with a spinning curtain, which has, not surprisingly, broken down. As guests heed Indy's warnings, the vehicle takes a left and is slowly engulfed in darkness. Then, without warning, the vehicle rounds a corner where guests find themselves at the top of a staircase with a view that can only be described as utter disparity. The vehicle then quickly bounces down the stairs, teetering over the large pit of lava and barely avoiding Mara's laser beam. At this point of the ride, there's a broken effect that I'm sure most people watching this video probably already know about, and that is the collapsing roof effect, or as most people call it, the ice machine. This effect would drop ice from the ceiling, timed in conjunction with Mara shooting the roof. Today, only the sound of the collapsing ceiling can be heard. The effect stopped working early on due to issues with the ice jamming the drain system and rust in the main mechanism. As the vehicle makes a sharp turn to the left, it enters a large catacomb lined with skeletons, some of which pop out toward guests. The vehicle then weaves through multiple turns and passageways before once again ending up in a dark tunnel. As the headlights flick on, hundreds of bugs appear in front of the vehicle, swarming all throughout the walls. The headlights then flicker on and off as bugs start falling on guests, simulated by the air blasts from above. The bug projection effect has recently started becoming a problem for the ride. They're either way too dim for guests to see or end up spinning out of control. They used to work fine before the parks closed, however, ever since then, they've been malfunctioning. The vehicle then exits the bug room, taking a sharp left only to be met by a rickety bridge spanning over the large pit of lava. After a short pause, the vehicle lunges quickly forward, causing the bridge to flex and sway under its weight. Halfway across the bridge, the vehicle stalls, stopping right in front of the crumbling statue of Mara. Then, without warning, Mara unleashes a flurry of lasers and explosions in an attempt to destroy the bridge. Luckily, in the nick of time, the vehicle manages to recover, flooring its engine and swiftly speeding forward off of the bridge. The bridge shaking effect hasn't worked for a few years. When the vehicles used to go onto the bridge, the rope supporting the bridge would violently shake, as if the bridge was giving out. Even though it was only the ropes around the bridge that shook and not the actual track, it was still a very convincing effect that added a sense of danger to the attraction. As the vehicle leaves the bridge, it makes a sharp turn into a room filled with rubble and hundreds of snakes. Suddenly, as guests round the corner, a massive cobra appears out of nowhere and lunges forward, attempting to strike the vehicle. The vehicle recoils in fear from the strike and then rapidly speeds off to safety. I don't think the snake animatronic needs any kind of introduction. The snake has been broken ever since the park reopened in 2021. When I first went on the ride 2 days after the park reopened, the snake was still able to open and close its mouth. However, the entire figure was slumped over in a downward position. Then, when I went about 3 weeks later, the snake animatronic was replaced with the dummy head. It's been like that ever since. As the vehicle leaves the snake room, it attempts to descend a muddy slope, losing traction and sliding down to the bottom. The guests then find themselves stammering behind the crumbling statue, where giant flames, thousands of human skulls, and a hovering spirit of Mara tried to wave them off from going any further. The vehicle then suddenly lurches over a cliff and under the rope bridge, riding alongside the massive boiling pit of lava. The boiling pit of lava is something a lot of people point out as broken, which to their credit is partially true. The lights in the pit that gives the lava its red menacing look still work, but the smoke effect that's supposed to cover the lights hasn't worked in a while. Because of this, what's supposed to be a giant pit of lava comes off looking more like someone's leftover charcoal from a barbecue. After a large explosion, the vehicle enters a pitch-dark cave, frantically swerving left and right to avoid danger before abruptly stalling in the middle of nowhere. Suddenly, the vehicle roars back to life and accelerates through the dark, going straight through a very convincing projection of mice running across the branch. As the vehicle comes out of the darkness, guests find themselves situated between dimly lit graffiti of skeletons on the wall. As the Jeep slowly inches forward, the vehicle accidentally sets off the trap, sending darts through the air, whizzing past the guests and bouncing off of the vehicle. The dart scene showcases one of the biggest issues with the Indiana Jones ride, and that is the broken LCU, or local control unit. The LCU controls the timing and activations of sound effects and music throughout the entire ride, and has been in very bad condition. I'm not going to go over all the issues with the LCU here, since 1, that is a whole video in itself, and 2, another YouTuber by the name of XS Bravo has already covered it in great detail. If you want a full breakdown of the broken LCU on Indiana Jones and more, I suggest you go watch his video on the topic after finishing this one. In summary, here's a comparison of how the LCU affects the dart room. As the guests desperately flee out of the dart room, they make a sharp right turn into a long tunnel, once again meeting up with Indiana Jones as he dangles above the vehicle. Before Indy can jump in, a massive boulder materializes out of the darkness, quickly rolling toward the guests. In a last-ditch effort, the vehicle throws its gear into reverse, attempting to back away. Then, without warning, the Jeep lurches forward with all of its might, nosediving into a ditch and barely squeezing between the boulder. With the flash of light, guests find themselves in complete darkness as the sound of the boulder slamming into the ground echoes closely behind them. The boulder room is in what many people like to refer to as B mode. This is where either the room doesn't move backwards, creating the illusion of the vehicles backing up, or where the boulder has limited movement. Depending on how many vehicles are on the track, the boulder room could work for better or for worse. However, even on its best day, the scene is nowhere close to its original A-mode version. After barely escaping being crushed by a massive boulder, the guests emerge out of the darkness, pulling up to a battered but still standing Indiana Jones. Finally, before the vehicle can pull into the loading area, Indy gives one last witty comment as the music crescendos with the classic Indiana Jones tune, wrapping up the ride and ultimately signaling the end to one of the greatest theme park experiences ever created. In conclusion, the Indiana Jones Adventure ride is in very bad condition. Despite this video being rather long, it only covers about 60% of all the known issues of the ride. Granted, the other 40% of issues are more aesthetic, like missing or malfunctioning pyrotechnics, props, and lighting. However, I digress. I hope you enjoyed this video and also look forward to the upcoming content of this channel, as well as what happens with the Indiana Jones Adventure attraction after the refurbishment.